6 years ago, Crossroads Bible Church on Northeast 8th Street had a problem. A good problem, but still a problem. Too many people were coming. We had grown by over 30% in less than 4 years. Our worship services were packed. Our youth programs were packed. Our children's and adult Sunday school classes were packed. Even the foyer and hallways were packed. God was clearly blessing Crossroads Ministries in a mighty way, and we weren't exactly sure how to deal with that. Oh, we had ideas. We made an offer on the business park to the east of us. Too expensive. We pitched a sanctuary swap with a church down the street. No go. We looked into expanding up, but the city of Bellevue wouldn't allow that. So we searched for properties to buy or land to build on. Plenty of options were available if we wanted to be the North Bend Bible Church or the Bothell Bible Church. But staying Crossroads Bible Church in Bellevue? Not happening. So Jerry Mitchell gave himself a deadline.
I found myself in a really frustrating place as the senior pastor of Crossroads Bible Church. We'd come to a place where we'd outgrown where we were, and I didn't have a plan how to fix it. And growth can be a problem. So I finally went to my elders and I said, "Gentlemen, I'm going to pray for 30 days that the Lord would give us an answer to our growth issues." During that 30 days, it seemed like the ceiling was made of brass. My prayers were bouncing back. The Lord wasn't answering me. And on the 30th day, one of my staff members, Steve Allen, came to me and said he had found a location he thought was perfect for us. Now, I had known Steve for a long time. He's a man of faith. And so I went down to see this place, and sure enough, it was the place that God had for us. Turns out that Paul Allen had purchased this property from Hewlett-Packard a number of years earlier for $20 million. And he kept trying to turn it into a school, but he couldn't. Every time he tried, something blocked him from doing it. I think personally it was the Lord saving the property so that when we were in a desperate situation and needed to relocate, it would be waiting for us. And as we met together, we had a sense from the Lord, and we had a feeling about our finances that we could afford to purchase the property for $10 million. But as I looked around the room, the discussion was, you're going to blow this deal. You're going to offer Paul Allen, who's made so much money in real estate, half of what he paid for the property. It's just not going to work. But we committed it to prayer. We made the offer for $10 million, and God moved on Paul Allen's heart to sell us the property for $10 million.
In the spring of 2004, we launched a capital campaign called Moving Forward in Faith. We would gratefully accept God's provision of the HP building for our new church, and we would move forward in faith to pay for it. Now, with the sale of our old church, the net amount we needed to raise was $9 million. Now, that amount boggled our minds, but it would get us into the new building with Phase 1 of the remodel. Phase 2 of the building remodel would come a few years later. Now, in a dramatic all-church commitment Sunday in May 2004 at the Meydenbauer Center, we all moved forward in faith and reached our fundraising goal. And God was faithful. In December of 2004, we moved into our new church building right on time, but not quite on budget. Do you remember the big Nisqually earthquake? The city planners in Bellevue did too. So the very first construction project that was surprised with new earthquake building codes was, you guessed it, Crossroads. Massive steel supports were now necessary, dramatically increasing our remodeling costs. Our leadership decided that if we had to spend the money anyway, we would be wise stewards to leverage that construction work and proceed immediately to Phase 2. That was raising the roof of our sanctuary from 13 feet to 30 feet. It turned out to be the right call because it would have been hard to worship in a 1,000-person sanctuary with a ceiling lower than the one in most of our garages. But that decision came with a price tag. Our combined Phase 1 and Phase 2 remodeling costs hit $15 million instead of 10. We took out a loan and have been making payments almost from the day we moved in. But move in we did. And while we shouldn't be surprised, it has been truly amazing how God has blessed our ministries in the last half-decade. And now we're ready for the next phase of our church mission, which we're calling Moving Further in Faith. What is Moving Further in Faith? It is a 3-year, $5 million capital campaign that will finish what we started and prepare our building for greater ministry expansion. The purpose of Moving Further in Faith can be summarized in 2 words: so that. We are investing in this building that God has given us, but we are mindful that this building isn't a cathedral. It's a tool that we maximize so that our ministries can increase. Moving Further in Faith will cover 5 essential areas: paying off the last of our move-in debt, expanding our parking lot, replacing our HVAC system, enhancing our building entrances, and transforming our children's and student ministry rooms. When we moved into our building 5 years ago, Phase 1 and 2 of the remodeling was done, but only Phase 1 was actually paid for. So we had to borrow to cover the extra costs. It was like putting an extra $5 million on a Crossroads Visa card. Now, we've been paying it off from the general fund, but this has also meant we've been limited on what we can invest in our ministries. It's time to finish what we started. $2.5 million is all we have left. Moving Further in Faith will pay off that debt and free up our general fund to expand our current ministries and pursue new ones. When it came to our parking lot, we moved before we actually started Moving Further in Faith. It's done, and here's why. Our parking lot was originally designed for HP office workers, not a high-density church. We'd already reached capacity in our parking well before we had reached capacity in our sanctuary and classrooms. Now, stacked parking was considered, but rejected. Put this challenge in the right perspective. Don't think of them as parking spaces. Think of them as ministry squares. Each square represents a family, a student, a single mom, or a visiting guest. They're the people Crossroads exists to serve. And in our car culture, if they can't easily find a place to park, they won't come. And it's kind of the same for us. I mean, deep down, we believe we have the right to pull into the parking lot at 8:58 and be sitting down in the sanctuary before Timothy James Meany gets to the chorus of the very first worship song. Our parking lot expansion has created 213 net new ministry squares. With 2.2 people per car on average, that represents hundreds of people being ministered to right away and thousands in the future. These ministry squares provide the highest level of return on investment that we have in our church property. But why did we move on this before Moving Further in Faith kicked off? Because thanks to the economy, it was the perfect storm of opportunity. The city of Bellevue fast-tracked a one-of-a-kind permit, and when it came to construction costs, it was like the Nordstrom half-yearly sale of parking lots. Everything was on sale. Asphalt, the contractors, equipment rental, trees, even the paint for the white lines. Now, waiting until 2010 or later would have simply meant paying more for the exact same things. We consulted with the top experts in the church, and they unanimously advised us to proceed. So we moved early on Moving Further in Faith for the parking lot.